Welcome back to our Industry Parallel series, where we are tapping into the breadth of experience PA has across industries to help identify opportunities for success for our surgical robotics clients. Today, I'm joined by Norio Fujikawa, Executive Creative Director for our San Francisco design studio. Welcome, Norio.
Thank you for having me.
So, Norio, some of the folks watching this probably don't realize that you were the creative mind behind the original Xbox 360 gaming controller. What was your approach to designing a first of its kind user experience for that device?
First off, I have to say that like any other project, there are a lot of people involved with it, but yeah, I was the sort of the design lead on the project. And I would say the sort of like approach that we took was what I'll probably come back to often in discussions about design is like the right experience, and also learning from sort of devices and things that were done in the past. Microsoft had the original Xbox that they entered the gaming market with, and they had a series of a couple of different controllers that they launched their product with, and did a lot of learning from that. They also did an extensive sort of ergonomic testing for the next controller, which was the 360 controller. So there was a lot of information in detail around what worked, what didn't work, learnings that we took, and then we also did our own studies with a lot of mock-ups and builds to get the right sort of feel, control, and experience that gamers really wanted from their console controller. So it's really understanding what the needs of the gamers were at that time for games such as like Halo, which was a flagship game for Microsoft and the Xbox platform.
Interesting. So, and then off the back of that project, you then went on to design a novel user interface for a endoluminal surgical system. So you talked just a second ago about experience. What experience did you take from that Xbox 360, and how did you apply that to a heavily regulated robotic platform?
Yeah, what was going back to experience, what was really enlightening to find out when we were approached to do the project was how many surgeons had grown up playing console video games, and also learning at the same time, I think it was the US Navy using Xbox 360 controllers on nuclear submarines. So it was great to hear, having designed that product, that so many people in different industries was using a platform or a device in a completely different category for something that could be used in something like surgical robotics or submarine control. So really it's understanding that these are surgeons and performing a different tasks, but comfortable with a platform or a device or a set of controls that they were familiar with because they grew up using that. So something that they were comfortable. So going again back to the experiences of these surgeons or users or humans, was that really recognizable or understandable platform or set of controls and devices and buttons and analog thumbsticks, and being able to apply that because it was something they were familiar with. So when we did the project, we did our due diligence and explored a series of different types of configurations and controls and mechanisms, but really came back to understanding what users, these being surgeons, were comfortable with, and applying that learning that we had done before, obviously with the nuances of what controls surgeons need to do their surgery on a robotic platform.
Interesting. So on the topic of familiarity, I've seen certainly the delicate balance that you take when designing these products, where you have enough inputs to accomplish a task, but not so many features that the interface becomes cumbersome. How do you strike that balance?
Yeah, I really like the word balance, because that's really what it is understanding what their needs are, from being able to control the task at hand, which is surgery in this case, but also giving them the right amount of features so that they feel like they're in control the whole time. So taking something that was done by hand, literally in a surgeon's hands, versus going to a controller that's controlling another device, making sure, again, striking that balance of control and accuracy when you're doing something like surgery. So understanding all the different types of inputs that are needed from the surgeon in a controller like that. That's different from gaming. It's one thing to be shooting a target in a video game to being able to control, for example, a catheter inside a vein, or some other internal organ, making sure that control, although it might be the same type of action, making sure you're delivering the right feedback so that the surgeon knows that they're really doing what needs to get done.
So as we look forward to the kind of future of gaming and designing that ideal user experience with the advent of AR and VR and starting to blend the physical and digital world as we're seeing on that consumer side of things, what are some opportunities that you're seeing that we could also apply to the surgical robotics industry?
Almost in some ways, some of those devices like AR or VR are more applicable to surgery than in gaming. I think maybe some of the things that suffer in the entertainment or gaming side of things is content, generating the right content that enables that virtual or AR experience to be engaging for consumers, where in surgery, the content's there, you're performing a surgery, so already know what you need to do. So being able to do that in an enhanced visual way, whether it's through AR or VR, or maybe even like remote control, where the surgeon doesn't have to be physically on site, being able to still perform the surgeries. I think there's really some interesting, exciting opportunities to be able to deliver that in terms of experience into the surgical room or remote surgical room. So I think those visualization tools that I think, again, things like in the gaming industry are struggling because maybe the gaming content isn't quite there to drive those experiences. In surgery, it's there.
Interesting. Thank you, Norio, for all your insight and certainly for all the work you're doing on behalf of all of our surgical robotics clients. To continue this conversation with Norio or myself, please reach out to us here at PA.